Hey everyone, my name is Ben Hansen, and you're probably tuning into this because you have some questions about Orange County Sheriff's Department and applying for your CCW permit in good cause. So I made this video. It's kind of updated from about a year and a half ago when I did it, and today's May 31st, 2017. I wanted to do another video to kind of bring everyone up to speed. A few things have changed, but not much. And I apologize that it's really kind of informal. I am in what I call my office, what my wife has relegated me to. So it's just a living room. It's not very professionally done. So the phone might ring, whatever, some distractions. We're just going to plow through it. I don't have time to edit. At any rate, if you have any questions after this, you can call me at 714-752-3654. You can also get me at info@californiagunpermit.com, and that's California spelled out. So you may have taken my classes before. You may be new to this. Good news is this: Orange County Sheriff has not really changed their policy. Okay, regards to when the Peruta decision came out, and then they went back and said, okay, well, that ruling was not final, and so we have to vacate the policy, and they supposedly went back and changed it. Here's my opinion on what's going on. We've talked to people who work for the Board of Supervisors, and they oversee the Sheriff's Department. I know a lot of people over there at CCW Division, really good people. If you have a clean background, and you don't have anything prohibiting you from owning or purchasing guns, and you want a CCW permit, you should be able to get one. However, you can't just walk in like you could a couple years ago and say, I want it for self-defense. Now, the CCW division, the Lieutenant Stuyvesant, the sergeants over there, they are very pro CCW. They support citizens. I believe with all intent they want you to have a CCW for those that are responsible. But you kind of have to help them help you. Okay, so before we get into that and what you should outline in your statement, realize that the sheriff has taken a lot of flack. Okay, probably from her opponents for going back and forth on her policy, and what we don't want to do is give those who oppose her any more fuel, I guess you could say, to come out if someone were to audit, look at the CCW applications and say, well, you're giving them out to anybody. We could debate all day long whether this is a constitutional right or not, but the fact is we have a supportive sheriff. We want to support her and respect that they do require some more information. Right now, you can't just say it for self-defense. So what do? Well, 95 to 98% of applications are being approved. So that's from the beginning when they go in there and they apply to those who make it all the way through. So those 2 to 5% might be those people who are just dropping out for whatever reason. It could be backgrounds, it could be other stuff, but that's a very high percentage getting their permits. So when you go in there, I suggest, now I can't pull this up on the screen here, or I would. I should be more technically advanced than this. I could put it up on the screen. I just don't want to edit later. I'm looking at the application right now, okay, your CCW application, plus your renewal. It's the same thing. If you're renewing, you still have to provide good cause. The section that says details of reason for applicant desiring a CCW license. Use additional pages if necessary. I would suggest you use additional pages. Now, I've seen people go in there and they've written 3 sentences. Just 3 sentences, and they're able to get the permit. That may very well do it. But normally when you fill out government applications, you're wanting to keep it succinct and short and not overdo it. In this case, more is better in general. Okay, I use what I call the coyote test point, or the coyote litmus test. And what that means is if you're getting to the point where your good cause is that you're afraid of coyotes when you go on walks in your neighborhood, you're probably stretching it a bit too far. They do accept hiking. They love hiking and camping as reasons. You talk about wild animals, but if that's kind of your main reason, because you got coyotes in the neighborhood, they probably are not going to want you to think of your gun as your primary defense to shoot those little animals. So, what I would do on your application, okay, I would maybe give a brief paragraph, I mean very brief, in that little square they give you, and then say, please see the attached addendum for details. I would not personally try to fit all of your details in that little square. Why? Because you're going to have a lot more than this. It's easy. It really is easy for me to sit down with anybody and come up with a good page. I do consulting. If this video doesn't help you to where you feel comfortable, when I have time, you send me a draft, and for free, because I love you, I want you to get the permit, I will try and go over it and give you some pointers, okay? Some things that I would focus on. I do charge $50 if you want a telephone, thorough outline, or in person. Now, I must stress, obviously, okay, we're not making stuff up. This is all 100% true. You have to be true, you have to be accurate and honest with your applications. Okay, but what the consultation does is help kind of jog your mind, your memory to things you maybe didn't think about, stuff that you didn't know they were really looking for. Okay, so that's what I help kind of draw out and give you suggestions on how to organize it. Some people are not the best at organizing their thoughts. I'm not the best at organizing my thoughts in video, so hope this doesn't go too long. All right. So what I would do first, you're basically going to have 3 sections. Okay. So you have a separate, make a Word document, whatever you got. I would start with an introduction. Then you have the details, okay, to your main parts, and then you have a conclusion. And it makes it very easily read. You can actually write the titles and say synopsis at the beginning, or to have no title and just start right into it. You can divide up the different parts of your life. What I did was I divided up career, personal hobbies, and I think something else, right? It doesn't have to have a subheading, but if it helps you organize your thoughts and put it into paragraphs that way, do it. With your introduction, okay, what you're going to do is be grateful. Tell them thank you. Say, thank you for the time your staff has given to, reviewing my application. And below you will find details as to why I think, and now this is important, go back and read the statute. The statute, according to the state or the DOJ policy, is that you have to provide reasons why you are significantly more at risk than the general public. Okay, and I think that's the wording now, as it says significant. So in their application here, it says, if the CCW license is desired for self-protection, the protection of others, or protection of large sums of money, you're required to explain, provide good cause for issuance. For example, has your life or property been threatened or jeopardized? Explain incidents, include dates, times, locations, when police agencies were called, blah, blah, blah. They're asking for details, okay? So don't be vague. I've seen too many people start out by saying, well, I take, walks at night with a dog, or, like they'll say that they go, the job involves them carrying money to the bank or something, which is all good. You're headed in the right direction. but don't be afraid to actually list what kind of work you do. Okay, so um, does that specific job, why does that specific job place you more at risk than the normal average person? Okay, so for example, if I worked in real estate, okay, and I'm going to show houses, I would say my job as a real estate agent requires that I go to showings that are sometimes in remote locations, that are after hours or when I'm alone. Um, and then I would give specific incidences where something either happened to me. Now, if nothing happened to you and you didn't ever call the police or feel really threatened by a situation, then use an example of somebody else. Okay, someone you know who works in that same field. If you don't know anybody else, then look in the paper, Google it. Okay, and this is an interesting point because I have here in front of me an email from one of the investigators asking for follow-up information. Okay, from one of our applicants, and they're actually asking for them. Hey, maybe look at crime statistics from the city website or search areas. Okay, so this is something I had suggested that people do even before I knew that they were really requesting it. Go to where you work. If it's where you live, you can look around there. You can look at where you transit to and from work, places you frequent. Sometimes it was like, well, I go take care of my mother and she's in another city. So that person will look up the crime statistics of that other city where they go and visit. And I can't name off specific websites right now, but Next Door Neighbor, or no, Crime Watch, something. I get emails from these places. It shouldn't be hard if you know how to use Google. You just look up crime statistics and then a zip code, okay? And it will kind of give you a trend of whether that's high for that county or area or lower, maybe over a certain amount of time. And you can be pretty general about that, but say, hey, look, violent crime has increased by 30% in the past couple of years. Pull up newspaper articles, type in murder, type in homicide, assault in that city or that street or whatever. Things will come up. Okay, it's not hard. Pull a couple of those out. Ask your neighbors if they'd heard about anything recently. A lot of police blotters, like on, they'll have like a Facebook page or on their official website, and they will, over the weekend, they'll say what kind of crimes occurred. And you can pick out one that was like a couple streets over and say, hey, this just happened. You don't have to have the case number. It doesn't have to be to you. This just happened over here, and there was a home invasion, okay? Or there was someone walking their dog and they were attacked, or whatever it is. Now, I do have to add, when you're looking at crimes, though, make sure that you focus on stuff that happens outside the house. Okay, so a lot of your good cause statement is going to be kind of preemptively thinking what they might say and come back to you. So, for example, if I said, well, there has been home invasions and our house we were at home and someone tried to break in just last month or whatever, they might come and say, well, that's fine, but you can have a gun inside your home. You don't need a permit. Okay, so you need to relate this to things that happen outside the home. Now, if your car was broken into, you could still turn that and use that, and something like, well, in the early morning hours, our car was vandalized, and I get up early, to go to work, and had I encountered this person doing this to my vehicle or trying to steal a car or whatever, I wouldn't have any means to really defend myself. Okay, so see, again, it happens outside the home. That's what the focus is here. So, I'm sorry, kind of scattered here, kind of throwing things out, but going back to your introductory, you're going to put just a small paragraph, a couple sentences, and what I would do is kind of highlight everything you're going to cover. So, using your phrasing of something of that sort, I would say, I believe that the circumstances of my work, my personal hobbies, and perhaps like it could be volunteer service. A lot of people who volunteer at church or things like that, because of these situations, I'm placed at a greater risk than the general public. Okay, so that's kind of your introductory. Then you go into these different subheadings. So, like I said, 3 paragraphs, I think you're sitting pretty good. If you end up doing a full page, excellent. I'm usually got people to a full page when I'm done talking to them. It's probably not any more necessary to go more than that, but to give you an idea, I mean, mine was 3.5 pages, but I have a lot of stuff. And I don't think it's overkill, because there's no way that they could say, well, we still need more from you. I don't like having people to go back, a few times. Good news is this. The people over at the Sheriff's Department are so cool. You go in there, and let's say you didn't have enough information. They're not going to turn you out and say, sorry, you had your chance. There's not enough. First of all, most investigators will sit there with you and say, okay, well, that's good. What about this? What about that? And they'll kind of prompt you and write down things, and that may do it. Or they will say, they'll have you come back, and they'll say, I don't know if my camera just turned off. My screensaver did. They'll have you come back. When you're doing your renewal, you don't even go in person. Okay, it's all done by email. If they give you feedback right there for your initial interview, and they say, well, this might be okay, but I'd like to have more information about X, Y, and Z. Okay, they'll either tell you right then, or they'll send you an email. Okay, so don't be afraid. Okay, I've had one person, couple people maybe give up at this point. Don't worry about it. I know it sucks. You don't like to be, bothered. You feel like you're having to prove something. Don't worry about it. If you just go ahead and do it and follow through, you're gonna get the permit. I've had 100% success rate. Everybody who's followed my advice, who's had a consultation, and I've gone through everything, if they followed through, everyone's got the permit. Okay. So, where were we? All right. If they ask for more information, they're going to do it, and then they're going to evaluate that. And even then, if they say, yeah, there's not enough here, sorry, then say, oh, well, what else did you need? Did you need more details of this document or that one? It's kind of a fluid, continual process, if that makes sense. It's not like you turn everything in the first time and that's all you get, okay? So don't worry about it. Let's talk about then jobs, okay? So we don't make this video incredibly long. Are we up to 18 minutes already? All right, sorry guys. Let's talk about jobs. So what kind of jobs, what kind of things? Well, just about any job, okay? Where do you work? What do you do? What kind of people are you surrounded by? What's unique about your work that places you more at risk? Okay, so we don't have time to go into several examples here, but a lot of people I know might work in a warehouse. Okay, they might have access to merchandise or money. Okay, so if you work somewhere where you have a key card, that means there's something that's protected in there. If you have keys to open or close a store, okay, there's a reason for that, because there's something valuable in there. If you work for the government, you might have projects or security clearances where you have access to information. I know people who are computer programmers, and they have databases, they have access to other people's information. Okay, so all those things place you at higher risk, and it's not a stretch to say somebody who is watching you or knows where you work might target you, okay, to get access to that information. Better still, if you have examples, Okay, you say like, well, I've seen people kind of sitting outside. They've been watching, people come in and out. Or one guy's like, we've had, some gang members who have actually, approached me when I'm leaving, or assaulted somebody or something like that. Okay? In your job, do you have a supervisory position? Are you in charge of hiring, firing, disciplining? Do you own your own business? Okay? This is pretty much an easy one, because if you own your own business, you probably go to the bank a lot. Okay? Even though maybe not all of your transactions are in cash, you might be um, carrying, a lot of valuables to and from work. When you go to the bank, just the idea that you're going in and out and someone thinks you have cash, okay, because they see you going there a lot, those are all good things. You should save some cash receipts. Okay, now if you don't have them because you didn't expect doing this, save them up for next time. But you can also go back in your bank statement, okay, and you can just highlight where it was that you made cash deposits. So personally, I think if you are dealing in thousands of dollars a couple times a month, that's pretty good. Okay, if you're dealing with hundreds of dollars every so often, it's not horrible. It's worth mentioning. Where I wouldn't really get into it is like, well, I go to the ATM about once a week and take $40 out. Okay, you're kind of really stretching it there to make a case that your cash withdrawals or deposits are a good cause. Let's see, what else? Okay, so with your job, do you have access to medications, to drugs? If you don't work and you like stay at home and work, what other types of things? Some people are kind of have like a public presence, right? So I know of some elected officials, or I know of some people who work from home who kind of have a public presence outside of the home, which makes them, either recognizable, or some people, for example, work for a church and they work in very controversial things where political or otherwise they are kind of like a discriminated or hated group, misunderstood group. They've had threats made against them, or their industry in general. Okay, so that's all in your job section. Details, details, details. If it didn't happen to you, give an example of someone else it happened to, or something in your industry, and find newspaper clippings. Yeah, this real estate agent was just attacked, the next city over, that sort of thing. Then I would go into your personal interests, okay, and look for things such as, are you a photographer? Do you have a lot of expensive equipment? Do you like going on bicycle rides, motorcycle? Do you have expensive bikes? Okay, do you go to remote locations? They love hiking and camping. I'm looking at one right here. If nothing else, get to love hiking and camping, right? Talk about the places that you go to, which state parks or forests, and then kind of look up some wild animal attacks. Okay, like what kind of things have happened there? Have they found dead bodies, missing people? Okay, how long do you go? How far away are you? Do you have cell phone reception? If you like road tripping on your motorcycle, like how many hundreds of miles do you travel? Where do you stop? Okay, be creative here, but think about the things you like doing. Okay, does it take you to places that are more dangerous? A lot of people I know like to go riding bikes, and they go kind of in the riverbed, where all the homeless are. Now, don't paint the homeless as, evil and bad, but it kind of goes without saying, as you talk about a lot of homeless people who are mentally unstable, there is an added danger there. And it's not hard to find incidents where pretty much every city now the police have had to shoot a homeless person who was mentally ill and waving a machete or something like that. Let's see, what else? So that all goes under your personal hobbies or interests, that type of a thing. I would kind of group those all together. And then, like I said, volunteer activities. Okay, a lot of churches now are getting into having their own security teams, right? They've had some threats against them. So, do you volunteer in places, that are kind of sketchy or require that? And everything you put down, okay, be prepared, because right, it's truthful what you're saying. Just be prepared. They might ask for a letter, okay, from your work, from one of these places. Again, don't freak out. Okay, believe me, they know most employers aren't going to write a letter. And even if they're totally in favor of CCW, they're not going to write a letter because of the insurance, the liability. They think if they put you down as having permission to carry at work, if something happens, then they're liable. Okay, whether that's true or not, most of them know you're not going to get a letter. But that doesn't hinge, everything of your good cause in getting licensed does not hinge on the fact that, for example, a nurse came to me and she said, well, they asked for a letter, from my hospital, but I work in several hospitals and they're not going to write me a letter. I said, oh, it's okay. Just tell them. Again, kind of looking forward, even before they ask for it, you might say in your statement, I understand that my work has policies against carrying at work, but my concern is more so transitioning, getting to and from my vehicle, going to and from work, where people think I might have access to drugs, or to this warehouse or this data, whatever it is. Okay, so it's the transitioning, and you kind of state it so that they know, hey, look, if it's my work that doesn't want me to carry there, that I don't plan on carrying at work, if that makes sense, okay? So, you don't need the letters, but it's icing on the cake. Any document is icing on the cake. They'll love it if you come to them with documents, okay? But I know the majority of people don't have any documents. All right, so letters, if you get your boss to write you one, if you work for yourself, it's even easier, okay, because you don't write yourself a letter, but you'll be fine. You can just talk about, sometimes you could get maybe a letter from a client, okay, that says, yes, he often pays you in cash, or a lot of the locations that you subcontract to, or in undesirable places in town and whatnot. All right, then looking at kind of those 2 or 3 areas, I would conclude, I would have a closing paragraph, thanking them again, telling them you're grateful for the time they've taken, and then offering to provide additional information if they need it. Okay. That makes their job a whole lot easier. You're willing to help out. You yourself know that you can back up any of these things you put in there because they're all true. But you don't necessarily have to provide everything right then, if that makes sense. So if you put down that you make cash deposits between this amount and this amount, why not? If you have the receipts and whatever, bring those with you. Bring, half a dozen of them to give examples. But if you didn't bring it and you just want to kind of hold on to it and see if they ask for it, then fine. You've offered. Okay? There's so much more I wanted to cover, guys. This video is getting way too long. This is half hour. I'm sorry. So, I might kind of add some things later. Don't, like I said, worry too much about it. But documents are icing on the cake. Details are good. Try to keep it organized. Okay? Try to kind of think in every aspect of your life. Okay? Focus on the things that are outside the home, not inside the home. and not like in work where it's maybe a private location where you wouldn't need a CCW. Focus on the things that happen outside. Okay, your hobbies, can be anything from riding bikes, motorcycles, going to the desert, to shoot your guns, and you got a lot of guns and you got to protect them, but you can't have a loaded gun if you don't have your CCW. And then anything that you can find as far as police reports. Okay, threats that have been made to you at work, threats that have been made, stalking, harassing, stuff that might happen at your home. Okay, and if it's not you, again, think outside the box. Generally, this happened in my neighborhood down the street last month, and find a newspaper article if you can. Okay, so follow all that. I think you'll be good. Please don't hesitate to call or email me, and keep it up. Keep up your advanced training though too, guys. It doesn't end, okay, with getting your initial license or doing your renewals. We'll keep having good experiences with the sheriff's department and the renewals and everything if we don't embarrass them. Okay, we don't want to be on the wrong side of an incident in public, so keep your training up. And we offer advanced training when I have time. I apologize. Haven't done it for a while because I work in other things besides firearms training. Anyways, phone number again, 714-752-3654. And email is info@californiagunpermit.com. And I think that's it. I'm sure I'm missing something else, but hopefully we'll see you in class.